this is just my personal observation, and people can contest if they want. At least 75% of the population in the women's jails is at the very least trisexual.
Mm. Try anything.
They'll try it. On both sides of the bars.
Mm.
Very few say, no, I'm not with that, and mean it and stay there.
Mm-hmm.
The women turn faster than the men.
Mm.
They're much more compliant and exploratory.
Mm.
The men have to be broken. If they didn't come like that, they have to be broken to become that. The women, it could be a day or two.
Mm.
The next thing you know, they got a girlfriend.
Mm. Is that for survival, or is it just letting go of inhibitions?
I personally believe that, based on our makeup, that in general, women are emotional first, physical second.
Yes.
So,
despite of what some of you may think. Go ahead.
Men are generally physical first, emotional second. If you can get to our physicality, then you can get us to emotionally attach.
Mm.
Women, if you can tap into their emotions, they're much more free with their physicality.
Mm.
So understanding that dynamic, the women there prey on the women with their emotions. Because I already know what you need right now.
Mm-hmm.
They tap in instantly.
Mm.
And while I may not agree with it, I understand it.
Mm.
So it's not just survival, but for some, it became survival. Very few really had to be forced. And the ones that said they were forced are still questionable. They just... Think about it. This is the dynamic. You get a woman who cries on her girlfriend's shoulder about her abusive man. Nobody looks any kind of way about that. Let me stick my head on some man's shoulders talking about, you don't know what she did. He's going, man up. That's the society. That's just the mindset of the general population. You have more intimate, open conversations about everything. Most men don't. They're, kind of apprehensive about what they say, who they say it to. So it goes from a simple consolation to a caress to a culmination. And God forbid if you came from the era where especially people of color had abstentions to certain physical sexual acts. Your man won't what? Listen, I'm going to take care of you. You will? Just lay back and let me make you feel good for a moment. So you've conquered two aspects in one move. The emotional of I will and he won't. And now understanding the physical composition of how to actually please somebody because you know from a personal experience how it turned out. Just like that.
And for the guys, we see in movies, I think Oz painted one of the most horrific portraits of what assault looks like, what the power dynamic is. How real is that for the males?
It is, but it isn't. It again, variables.
Okay.
I don't think you can find a Muslim inmate that's ever been raped.
That speaks volumes.
Amazing. You have to be outside of a group. But the dynamics then changed so drastically. We had an influx of so many so much diversity at one time that no one knew what anything was. You got to go all the way back to understand why people of color were allowed to be officers to begin with, is because the white officers didn't understand their communication. They needed someone who could at least understand what they were saying. They were talking slang, pig Latin, and other means that people from the suburbs, what they saying?
Couldn't decipher.
What's going on? Well, we need some people in here who knows what's going on. So my influx, crack era, AIDS, and the most prominent gangs at the time were still Bloods, Crips, Latin Kings, and Nietas. Now we had 31 gang classifications. The others that didn't get spoken about as much were the Asian gangs, the Aryan gangs, because they're not as popular in the city as they are upstate. But when you go to a state or federal penitentiary, there you don't see the mob in a city jail. You see them in a federal jail or a state prison. And you see how they run them. They facilitate. When John Gotti got locked up, they stopped doing the construction on Eastern Parkway. That's what took so long for them to finish just those mediums on Eastern Parkway. They said, well, while he's in jail, nothing's going to get done because they own all the cement in New York and New Jersey. So they wouldn't allow any cement to come here. Dynamics, power, things that are intangibles because you can't really see them. You just have to know what happened. So being able to understand that kind of climate makes you less expendable. When you can walk in and, okay, no, they're not in power, they are. Well, how do you know? I can see it. And I can't explain to you how to see. So those were dynamics. The women had dynamics. They had hierarchy. A lot of them initially were assumed by the courts that they were taking falls for these men because that was the thing. For the passive ones, hey, hold my gun, I'm getting ready to get locked up. And of course, you play the lady role. You can't search me. And by the time elapses where they have someone qualified politically to do that, you've already discarded what we needed to find. But some of them, was like, why am I playing second fiddle to some man? And they became those men.